Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the deal today. I have the privilege of speaking to the host of a brand new podcast, Inspiration for the Nation, on his very own Living L'Chaim Podcast Network. Before his latest show, he was a co-host of the Meaningful People podcast, among a number of other Jewish creative endeavors. And that's right, everyone. I have with me Jack Linger today. And now, Jack, I wanna tell you first, it's a pleasure to have you on. The other
Thank
thing
you.
I want to ask you is, do you prefer Jack or do you prefer Yaakov? I know
Uh,
which
I
one I
think,
prefer, but I'm not you, so I don't wanna,
yeah, I think I prefer Yaakov only because that's how I've always been going.
uh-huh,
Jack is my legal name. So
yeah,
in the business world, I go by Jack, but
uh-huh.
either one is fine. But I feel like my close friends call me Yaakov. So I want you to call me Yaakov.
Okay, I'll call you Yaakov. Thank you very much. So, that's my firstborn is my first boy at least is also Yaakov. So,
Oh, no way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
always feel connected to anyone named Yaakov. I feel like we have an extra
It's a
connection. Like,
cashier. I can
yeah,
understand it. I totally understand it. Totally understand it. And Yaakov Avinu. Look at that. Look at that. It's a big name. So
the
listen,
OG.
I'm gonna shoot straight. I'm gonna ask you the first question. Okay. You and I
Sure.
touched on it before. You spoiled it for me before.
Oh,
But anyway,
gosh.
meaningful people talk to me. Obviously, this podcast in my mind is like, blowing up. Everybody's listening to. Everybody knows about it, and know about it so much that like whenever people come up to me, it's like, I really enjoyed your podcast. I'm like, man, so many people listening to the deal. It's like crazy. I'm like, what was your favorite episode? It's like, oh, the meaningful people, right? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So, many people, for whatever reason, is mistaken it. But obviously, amazing show. So many people watch it. So many people get inspiration. I get inspiration. My wife is like always sending me different episodes, also. So, I want to know what's going on. Why the move?
Sure. It's for me, meaningful people. We started 2 years ago. It was a dream come true.
Right.
Nahi, I knew a little
Mm,
from high school, a little older than him, and
mhm,
he approached me. He's like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast. Let's figure this out." And it actually took us a very long time to come up with the name Meaningful People.
mhm.
And yeah, we went into it, and to be honest, we didn't anticipate. We knew it would like blow up somewhat because we were filling this hole in, at least in the Orthodox community. There hasn't been really a show where people could talk and get to know them really well. We have
Right.
books about Gedolim and great sages that pass away after they pass away, and you get to know
Right.
them. But like, why wait until they die? Let's talk
Right.
to awesome people, and not
Mhm.
just great sages. There's awesome people out there doing amazing things, living their best life. So we really didn't think that this would go as big or as long as it would be. And, as Nahi spends a lot of time building out his brand with Meaningful Minute, I too have a brand. I have Living L'Chaim.
Mhm.
And just logistically, it's to get Nahi and myself in the same room with a guest. You know how
Right.
complicated it is. Like,
Right.
we reached out to you right in the beginning. Like, it took, I don't know, a year. Obviously, COVID was in there, but it took a year and a half.
Right.
So logistically, we thought it was the smartest move for Nahi to continue, and I think he already made the announcement. He got a new co-host. He's continuing Meaningful People. Meaningful People still continuing, and I'm continuing to do podcasts, and I
Right.
have something called Inspiration for the Nation.
Mhm.
We're very similar.
Mhm.
I just me being my authentic self, going to places, maybe trying to get a little deeper, a little grittier, and
Mhm.
talk to maybe a little more diverse kinds of people, get to know them, and get the world to know more awesome people.
So listen, it would be one thing if Inspiration for the Nation was just another podcast, but it looks like it's a podcast coming out on the L'chaim network, right? Living L'chaim
Yeah.
network. So that's your network. So it's much bigger than just like, oh, I just got another podcast. You have a podcast network. So talk to me about that. Like, what inspired you to make this network?
Yeah, so Living L'Chaim, it's blown up way bigger than I ever could have imagined.
Hmm.
I started it a year ago. Obviously, with the success of Meaningful People, it was like, okay, this is great. We're talking to people, but there's so many different subjects that I personally wish I had growing up as an Orthodox Jew.
Right.
I think I learned a lot myself from, I grew up in a frum home, but I had a lot of access to TV. It wasn't Netflix at the time, but I was the youngest of four, a little break in between my brother, the one above me, and myself. So I got away with anything and everything. So consuming content, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel,
Mhm.
I watched a lot. And
Right.
I always wish there was like better content for myself growing up from a
Right.
Jewish angle.
Right.
So it came out with this idea. Actually, we interviewed Naftali Horowitz on Meaningful People.
Right.
He's this rabbi slash Hasidic person who went into the finance world and did phenomenally well.
Hmm.
And he now speaks to tons of people about what's the real value, like why do we make money, like what's the
Right.
point of it, and
Right.
is there something more in life. And after I spoke to him, I'm like, I am fascinated by him.
Hmm.
This guy needs his own show.
Right.
And that's where the birth of Kosher Money came,
Right.
where it's everything to do with finances and how an Orthodox person could, travel through life with this mindset of like, I need money to live and it's important, but that's not the goal of my existence.
Right.
So I said, okay, let me create a network because
Just
there'll
an
be other
amazing,
shows.
amazing podcast, by the way. I benefit from it a lot. Just want to tell you that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm not on it. It's my brother Ellie Langer,
Right.
who
Right.
he's phenomenal. He's great at asking questions, and he worked at CNBC. And it was supposed to be Naftali, but Naftali is like, I am way too busy. I'd be a guest on your show. And
Right.
we started this. Living L'Chaim's first show was Kosher Money, and since we've had other shows, I'm happy to talk about it. But I created a YouTube channel, and I created it for Orthodox Jews. Little did we realize that the content that we're giving over is like talking about money and its value. It really pertains to anyone. So all of a sudden, tons of non-Jews and non-religious Jews started following Living L'Chaim because they're like, I really like this Kosher Money.
Right.
And as of today that we're recording, I started at 0 subscribers. As of today, it's been less than a year. We're at 70,000 YouTube subscribers,
Wow. Amazing.
which
Amazing.
it's
I mean,
all
listen,
from Hashem.
I mean, somewhat, I don't know, did you not think about it from a marketing perspective? I mean, you're a marketing guy. Come on, you know
That's
this.
what I do. I do
You're marketing.
marketing.
You do marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, can you imagine with all the different stereotypes about Jews with money, and then of course everybody's gonna sign up once they see that Jews are talking about how to make more money, anything that has to do with money. I mean, it was like sort of like it's like you set up the pins. For sure, you're gonna know you're gonna hit a strike. So
Yeah, well, there's definitely clickbaity episodes. I
right,
listen. I thought it would do well. I just didn't. I thought
right,
maybe we'd get 5,000 subscribers. But like, yeah, obviously there's certain episodes like we have a Hasidic man who lost. I don't remember what it was, like hundreds of millions of dollars and gained it back. So like we
right,
knew that episode would do well. But
right,
like even just the practical episodes of like how to budget. I don't know. There's so many. There's Dave Ramsey out there who's doing a great job. Who
right.
we're in talks to hopefully maybe, I don't want to jinx it,
Oh,
Bli Ayin
oh,
Hara.
oh.
We're getting there, but yeah, there's people are just eating it up, so it's
It's
it's a fun
amazing
ride to
stuff.
be on.
That's big, man. That's so big. So tell me, like, out of all these different projects, right? Because you're involved in a lot of stuff. You create content for social media, like Yid with a Sign, or
Oh,
different
sure.
things like that, right? So tell me which, and I know it's hard because some people ask me this, in a different form, obviously. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite project? Like, when you strip away everything, it's like, that's my thing, right? So I had to develop over the last, I would say, year and a half, 2 years, especially when I had Corona, I was in the hospital. I did a lot of thinking over that, right? Over that time. And when you're when a person's sick and with all the everything else that's going around, it wasn't as bad as the news reported, but it never really is. So, but I had a lot of thinking and reflection to do. I was in the hospital 6 days, and the bed was very tough for me. So I did a lot of thinking and stripping away during that time of what's the most important thing to me, right? I had a very powerful thing earlier today. I was listening to a shiur from Rabbi Weinberger, and one of the things they said, which you had on your show as well. So
Yeah.
one of the things that he said over there is when we talk about living life, living life and living your best life, or I forget the term exactly, that a person has to, live life to its fullest or whatever. That can mean different things for different people. For a person, today who's lived a fairly okay life and different things, that means, to take care of all your possession, or to be grateful for life, or and not to forget life. So at that point, when a person doesn't have anything, or they're barely making it through life, and when a person's terminally ill, God forbid, chas v'shalom, lo aleinu, lo alechem, but at that point, a person has a whole different meaning about the value of life and what's most valuable to them. And then at that point, I think it's the realist, right? When it is, if you can imagine, not not being sick at least, but if you can imagine that if I stripped away everything, what's my thing? Out of everything that I did, this is my thing.
I love that question. Well, first of all, I'm happy you didn't die. I just want to get that out there. I'm very glad. I'm very glad.
Thank you,
Thank
thank you. I'm
God you're
also.
better. Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, like you said, it's definitely very hard to answer. There's, I think there's like different components for, I guess, each of these podcasts, and even Yid with Sign. Yid with Sign is like, and which I do together with Aim Humor.
Mhm.
It's like my fun side, but I think the core of it, if I have to answer this honestly, I think the core of it for me right now, I think Inspiration for the Nation, my new
Mhm.
show, is my passion. I sincerely believe, as of right now, our missions in life change, but I think this is what I'm meant to do,
Right.
and I think it's a blessing to have that just discovery within oneself. Like I
Right.
love talking to people. I don't think I'm personally very inspirational, and I'm not just being humble. Like there's no story here, but like I love talking to people, like when I had you on the show, and just, or Moshe Weinberger, or whoever it is. Like I love having that conversation and people hearing it and just going like, what's my mission in life? And
Right.
I lived in Israel as a bacher by Rabbi. I went to yeshiva there. I was by Rabbi Center. I was there for 4 years. I thought I'm going for 1 year. I did college
Entonces.
there. Yeah, yeah. So this is the best. So I was there for 4 years as a bacher, and something that I didn't realize at the time, I loved going to Shabbos meals,
Mm.
and it didn't make a difference whether I knew the person well or not. I went. It was obviously great food, good Dvar Torah, but I loved the conversation. I loved
Mm.
whether we were going somewhere with it or not. I just loved that, and I think that has helped me train me be able to interview people, because like people say like all the time, is there a trick? Is there anything? I'm
Right.
no pro. I just definitely have a little experience. And you
Mm.
know what? We said this
Right.
before we came on. It's just
Right.
about being authentic, just being
Right.
curious, asking
Right.
questions.
Right.
I think that's me in my nature. And I think that's, I don't know in 10 years if it's going to be my same mission or what I have to
Right.
do, but
Right.
I really sincerely believe like that's what Hashem wants for me right now. And I'm going full force,
That's amazing.
interviewing as many people as I can.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So when you put together, podcasts, um, I don't necessarily think it's a machlokes. It's just depending on how the listener wants to listen. Some people are more into audio. Some people are more into visual. You yourself do both.
Yeah.
So the question is like, do you have a favorite? I come to the realization for me that obviously the visual for me is a little bit more of my thing. The reason being is because I don't, uh, as much as audio, I'm not such an audio guy. I'm a visual guy.
What do you mean
Everything
you're
I
not an
do is
audio
visual.
guy? You're
I
you're a music
I
guy.
know, but I prefer to, if I could, even with releasing music and releasing songs, and I love the audio obviously, because I'm an audio guy. But if I could release every song with a video, I would, and I would do it to the max. Like I would create they used to release, some people every once in a while they release like a visual album. I would love to do a visual album to really go in and have that serious like visual to what it is that I'm doing, would be like next level, will be next level. So I stand on the visual side, and I feel like at least with the visual, people are getting both. I can hear this, but I can also see this. Like I always think about, like, I put together a grill yesterday. I got my handyman on. I got tired of calling my handyman every 5 seconds. I need to change a light or something. I call the handyman. You know. And I get in the studio, I'm doing all this complex stuff. When it comes to anything else, I can't do it, right? So I put together my
Yeah.
grill last night, and I'm looking at these instructions. They're all in Hebrew. My modern Hebrew is for sure not that great, but I'm reading through the whole thing, trying to go through, and I thank God I'm just going through looking for the pictures. The pictures, the pictures, the pictures, and I start thinking, what if things actually came with a video? I want to watch somebody put this together, and I'm sure if I would have had internet or something like that, I could have went to YouTube and found somebody putting together the same grill. But that's the thing. It's sort of like once I have the visual, it really helps me. So, and your favorite, tell me what your favorite is out of the two.
So I differ in opinion. I think from a music video standpoint, I think I'd also like to consume content like that. But in
Mhm,
terms of creating the content, at least podcasts,
mhm.
I for me the audio is like the main thing, and that's
Okay.
what I tell people. Like even if the video doesn't work, as long as people could hear the messages, because I think that's the root of at least the shows that I'm doing. I want
Right.
people to hear the messages. Don't get me wrong. I think
Mhm.
I do everything with video because a lot of people like consuming content with video.
Mhm.
Let's say you like a Nissim Black
Right.
would
Right.
love watching a conversation between Ellie Linger and Aaron Eisenberger, or
Right.
whoever it is. But for me, the root of it is what are we saying? Why are we saying it? It's more a speech thing, and it's in the Torah. It's Kol Yaakov. So
Right.
I'm a little biased, but
Right.
for me, I think that's the root of it.
So tell me more about inspiration for the nation. Go deeper. Take me in deeper. What it is. I mean, because everybody go follow it. By the way,
Thank you,
but
thank you.
what inspired you beyond the Shabbos tables? We talked about the Shabbos table over there. I want to go deeper into the inspiration because it's a real big thing. And one thing is for me is when I hear um inspiration, a lot of times people are inspired by something, and then they don't really the inspiration lasts just for a little bit, right?
Right.
And the awesome thing about creating content is you get to replenish and you get to give them the inspiration over and over and over and over again. So take me deeper into inspiration for the nation.
Yeah, sure. So first off, I'm not gonna I'm not making I'm not swearing by this, but like making a shvua about it. I
Yeah.
want to do for the next 3 years, every single Motzei Shabbos, I want to release an episode. So hopefully,
Wow.
even if the
Wow.
inspiration wears off, by the next week, you're getting another person, another person, another person. There are so many fascinating people in the Jewish world. And even, I think I'm going to go even outside the Jewish world. There's so much
Right.
inspiration out there. And you know what? You look around, at least for me, I think living life, it's so easy to be hard on ourselves and be like, what am I doing? What am I like? Am I really accomplishing anything? And
Right.
Nissim, I'm sure you get this all the time. You're
Right.
a popular, very popular guy, and you might feel that sometimes. People are
Right.
like, how could you feel down? You're so popular. You have millions of views on YouTube. Everyone loves your music, but
Mhm.
you're human. We're
Right.
human.
Right.
And as long as we're here, we are here for a reason, and we are so different, all of us. I mean, you
Right.
could find identical twins. Each of them are their own person. They obviously have similarities, but they're really so different. So I love this idea that, the first episode of Inspiration for the Nation, I sat down with Rabbi Daniel Kalish. He's the
Mm.
Manal of Waterbury.
Yeah. How about
He might be
Kalish?
Mashiach. He might be Mashiach. I don't know. People told that to me before, and then after I sat down with him, I'm like, he might be. He might be. He's awesome. I get it. I get why people love him. So talking to someone like him,
Right.
who's like a master mechanech, and he hates that term. So if he's
Right.
listening to this or watching this, I'm sorry, Rabbi Kalish. But talking to him about, how do you deal with guys who are just not sure who they are or how to find themselves, and just having conversation about like being authentic and finding ourselves and being honest and really listening to others. That's one conversation. And then I'll talk to, Senator Joe Lieberman about his political experience in
Right.
America and almost becoming vice president. I
Right.
think that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
I think we're at a time in life where we finally are like, wait a second, being different is a good thing. I mean,
Right.
I don't know if I can bring this up, but I think to you, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Oliver Shalom mentioned to you something along the lines of that. No,
Right.
that like,
No. Right. 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 Right.
what
So
do you say? Remind me. What do you tell you?
right. 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 So Reb Chaim was very very um I, his look in his eyes was like fire. Right. I was obviously having issues at the time with my kids getting into school. I went to Reb Chaim just I'm there just for Reb Chaim. But when he said to me, most powerful thing, forget what all the everything that came afterwards. He said, "Your color is your mila, not your chisaron. Your
Wow.
color is your virtue. This is not the thing that's wrong. This is not where you have a lacking. This is your very virtue, right?
I'm getting
Like
goosebumps, by the way, as
blown
you talk. I'm
away.
getting
This is
goosebumps.
blown away. This is from Gadol Ador. This is what he told me. There were people in the room that was there. They anywhere, unfortunately, when you go and you're in this business, you get a photo op and everything. So there were plenty of people
Right.
there that heard it, and it was very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Somebody had the audacity to ask me, he's like, "You think maybe he was joking? You know, sometimes
Oh my God.
he's got to inspire."
People know how to always ruin things, you
People
know? That's
always know how to
people.
ruin things. No, for sure.
Always, always. So easy to ruin things.
But yeah, you're right. You're right. I think it's important because also, like you said, we all get to those places. Me myself, I'm looking for inspiration all the time. I need inspiration all the time. But people don't understand. Like, some people when they come up to me, there's people that come up to me and they're like, they want a selfie and on a picture. I get it, right? I get it. I was that kid. I used to run into famous baseball. I remember running into Alex Rodriguez, and nothing against him, but he was a jerk. But anyway, I remember running into the guy as a kid, and like no time of day or whatever. I never wanted to be that person. So when Ajim
Right.
put me in this limelight, I want to give everybody. But the thing that's most powerful is when people give to you from their heart, and that inspires me. It inspires me, and it helps me to continue going, and it gives me so much inspiration. So inspiration is everybody needs.
Everyone needs. It's like blood, like
Right.
you can't function life without it. And there's this idea, I'm gonna botch it up. I think it's in the Gemara somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't know where it is. My mashgiach Rabbi Stark mentioned this idea of like someone could literally die if they don't get the proper attention and appreciation. And like
Absolutely.
there's really something there. And
They're
like,
scientific, even, you know what I'm saying? Not the scientific as
yeah.
anything higher than the Gemara. I definitely would put it down a few madrigas, but I'm saying, this has been proven by people who, who don't even believe in Gemara understand this. It's for sure.
Right.
No
And it's
doubt about
crazy.
it.
Like, we live in a time where we get it. We're part of that generation where like we know technology is so useful to connect us, but we also know like this is a very isolating times. Like,
Right.
I wish I could go back 300 years ago before all of this and like be on a farm and be
Right.
connected to the people that I'm with. Like, there's that certain
Right.
lack of distraction, and right now we're all connected, but we're also so alone. Like, I'll WhatsApp thousands of people, but at the same time, that like real human connection, like I'm looking for. And if there's any technological way with podcasts or Yid with sign, if I could put that out there and try to help people really authentically be connected in some way,
Right.
I'm in. Let's
Oh,
do
it's
it.
important. It's so funny you said that. I always think about all the time. My favorite time is 200-300 years ago when you had Baal Shem Tovs, you had the Vilna Gaon, you had Rabbi Nachman's abroad. I want to go back to the Ben Ish Chai and meet them in the Orcha. I'm thinking of all these tzaddikim, and the only thing that always stops me when I think about this is the bathrooms, bro. I just start thinking about I want to go back to that time, but man, can you imagine having to use the bathroom? You don't got tissue, Kleenex. Like, what's the situation? I've been to Ukraine. I go to Ukraine every year. Some of those stop offs are crazy. They're like living back in time. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, no,
I just,
we're
be careful
we're
what you wish for. You know what I'm saying?
well, listen, if I wish this and like poof, it happened, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I agree with you. Listen, I think it's nice. It's an idea. Like, I
Right.
love the idea of Shabbos not using technology. Don't
Right.
get me wrong. The second Shabbos is over, I'm back on. But like, there is that appreciation of like
Right.
being in that zone. But yeah,
Right.
not having fresh wipes, yeah, would be a very big challenge for myself as well. I
Right.
agree.
Right.
I
Right.
agree.
So you've explained to me a few different guests and other people that you have that you've had on and that you've had on even from meaningful people. Um, Give me some PowerPoints. Like, give me something that was like really life changing. That either content wise or was a person that was like very polarizing. Like, what? Give me some experience
Sure.
that you left with.
Yeah.
Like I'm on a high right now.
I have you know what? This is something that didn't get fully aired.
Uh huh.
And whatever, it just didn't work out last
Always the
second.
best
But
stuff.
yeah, yeah. No, it wasn't because it was controversial. But I'll tell you what happened. One of my last episodes, I think this is the last episode I actually recorded with Nachi. We had Jake Turks. We released them out of order, but
Mm-hmm.
Jake Turks, he's in the White House. He's a correspondent. Like, he's talking to presidents and interviewing all them, and he's Hasidish. Very interesting person. We
Mm-hmm.
asked at that point probably 80 to 85 people if you could spend one 1 hour with someone in history. It could be anyone. It could be
Right.
Adam Arishan. It could be David Amelech. It could be Moshe Rabbeinu. It could be the Arizal, whoever.
Right.
Who would you spend it with? And
Right.
he said an answer. So for me, it made me cry when he said it. And it's ironic for me. It was like the last time that question was asked. It was also my favorite answer anyone gave. And again, that's just personal. I know
Right.
people appreciate and like different answers, but to me, it really hit home. He said two answers. His first part was a joke, which I love humor, I love comedy, so I
Right.
was all down for. And the second part was heartwarming, which I'm anything to warm a heart, I'm in for. So he
Right.
first said if he could meet one person in history, he'd meet Adolf Hitler. And he said, I would go to Hitler when he's a kid and say, Adolf, I'm from the future. One day you will be the biggest, most popular artist. Continue with your painting. I think he used to paint when he was younger. You're going to be the best painter ever, and the world's going to love you. Like, only focus on the art of painting. You have a lot of energy. Go for it. And then, the Holocaust wouldn't have happened. He was
Right.
like half joking, half serious. I'm like, that's kind of actually brilliant. Save
Right.
6 million people. That's actually really smart. But then he's like, you know what? Another person, if I could give another answer, is he would want to sit with, he had a baby. And unfortunately, I think it was a son. His son died within a day of being born.
Wow.
And he said, he's like, I'm like getting teary now. He's like, I would just want to sit for an hour holding my son's hand. And I
Wow.
just like,
Wow.
I'm tearing that. Like, like you think of the amazing people we had in our life, and like, people had like here's he had a baby, like, obviously it's 9 months, but like there was barely any real relationship there, but it was his son. And
Right.
if he could sit
Right.
for an hour and just put his hand over his baby's hand, I'm like, there's
Wow.
something so deep there that like really moved me. And I had a son recently.
Mazel
My
tov, by
wife
the
and I,
way.
thank you,
I
after
was gonna
5 years.
ask you about that because, like, as you're telling me the story, I'm thinking like, I know you were going through the fertility thing,
Yeah.
and for years. So I was gonna ask you about that. Like, that had to really hit a place for you.
Yeah, no, for 5 years we didn't have a baby until we did. Thank God, thank you Hashem, everything from Hashem.
Thank you,
But
Shem.
like when he
Thank you,
said that in that moment, I'm just like, we got to be so grateful for everything we have, and I don't know, it was just such a beautiful moment, and like, yeah, that really got to me. And it's funny, like I never would have imagined that was the line from Jake Turks, a very funny guy. Like, I don't
Right.
know, just that's just life, you know?
That's it's powerful. That probably is. I'm masking to that. I answered that too. I'm very masking to that being the best answer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just powerful. So with social media, I mean, I think you're fighting a good fight, right? Also too, and that's as one who fights a good fight. I participate in rap music, right, which is a genre that's more noted for its bad points and the gangster rap and the this and that and whatever. I'm more known as not that, but that's my thing. And I'm participating in what I would say maybe is an uphill battle to be able to release content that sort of goes away from that type of negativity. But that's the world I'm in right now. I recently just did a deal with HBO for a TV series, right?
I just saw that on Twitter. I didn't know if we were
Yeah,
allowed to
yeah,
talk about that.
yeah. It's
I'm
okay. It's okay.
I'm so excited.
Well, we're
I
going to talk
genuinely
about
like.
because it's about you. I'm here interviewing you. That's the reason why.
Yeah, but you're my friend, so it's about both of us.
So okay, so that which is something that's very very exciting. But if I didn't, I going through everything to find Fred Tochik, who's probably one of the best lawyers. So I probably need to have on anyway because I think it's like one of the only froom guys in the land in the
Wow.
business. And he's one of the top, at least top five entertainment lawyers. I mean, from Games of Thrones to the Harry Potters. So I mean, he, he's the man. To be
He
able
sounds
to
like he's an
find
inspiration for the nation.
he's an inspiration for the nation. I don't know why he has not been on all these podcasts. And not only
Oh,
that, he's
I'm
such a
sign me
mensch,
up.
such a mensch, such a
Love
mensch.
that.
And to be able to work with him and him to go to bat, because think about it, I'm going into a world where they put out content that is a lot of it is in all the entertainment, all the Hollywood, right, is anti-Yiddishkeit, anti-Torah, anti-value, the value system that we have. So it's very very hard to function in that type of way. So you fighting this uphill battle, and I went through everything. I had to find somebody that doesn't know just the halal, because I need somebody that knows the hashkafa, knows everything, right? So I had to go and navigate through these type of things in order to be able to do that. you are in a world of social media and content where everything is like just garbage, it's trash, it's so much negativity. Everybody wants to be negative. Um, even you can post. There's so many trollers even online. That how do you feel? Because sometimes the stuff it bothers me, affects me sometimes in a light way. I really look past it, but I barely am even looking at everything that's going on. But every once in a while, I'll go and check, and I like to respond to people. And you just get people that just say awful things, horrible things, and it's just almost like they wake up in the morning and they're looking to say the most negative thing that they can, and it's like
Right.
the social media is being flooded with all of this. So my question is for you, fighting this uphill battle that you are, does it ever affect you when people or have people ever, said anything? It could be just me, but I'm almost sure that there's a lot
No,
of people who hate
yeah, no.
positivity.
Once you put yourself out there, like it just opens up people to be critical.
Right,
A lot of times they're not even trying to be mean, but they could be so easily mean, especially behind a computer. Like no one can
right,
really see who they are. It's so
right.
easy. Um, it's similarly to like what you're saying, um, with what you're doing with HBO, which I'm literally so excited for. I did a
Awesome.
sign
Thank you.
on Yid with Sign about, I think it's like Netflix Leave Us Alone. This is like when they came out with like
With the
their latest show about like just negative like
right,
look at the Orthodox world. So I'm very
right.
excited for you to like
Thank you.
do it and be yourself, because the
Right.
world, more of the world needs to know who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing. But I
Thank you.
think
Thank
like
you.
I think yeah, I'd be lying if like negative comments didn't get me down. I do think, thank God, there's a lot more positive comments
Right.
coming in, and I think
Right.
the best mindset is like, listen, anyone who says something nasty or mean or critical, like it's usually coming from a place that like they themselves are hurt. And like I've really started to come to this realization, like I really feel bad. Anyone who says like something very mean, I'm just like, what's happening in their lives that they need to come on and like
Right.
say something negative about like, hey, we're just trying to make a show that's inspiring people. Like all these shows, it's trying to make your life easier. If you're having anything negative to say, like, I feel bad for you. Like, I'm so
Right.
sorry. But like, I just try to be like the opposite of just like, I think creating is the best outlet. Like, I don't have time to like go through all the comments. Like, I'm doing 5 shows. I'm doing it with Sign. I want to do another 5 shows in the coming 2 years. Like, I don't have
Amazing.
time for all the hack and the
Right.
talking. Like I'm just
Right.
focused on creating and creating. And
Right.
I think that's just the best mindset.
That's amazing. That's amazing mindset. I mean, you got to have it in this world, and people don't understand. Sometimes some people understand and they're very aware of how negative comments can affect people, but a lot of people don't understand as you're going up that these things do hurt a little bit, like or a lot of bit. One of the things that has bothered me, um, in my career has been the amount of, and this has only happened obviously, and it's been very out there. So I don't think, oh, I hope you're not gonna be like Matisyahu, and you're not gonna be like this. And you know how many comments and different things like that, which is I met Matis, and I have a different take on that than a lot of other people. But after being in a position of being you could call it whatever, famous, well known, I hate to like say those things after myself, whatever the case is,
Mhm.
you're in that spotlight, you got people trying to rip you down all day long. And unless you have a great support system, and unless a person's really planted in Hashem, like honestly, like really think about it. Like there are people who are involved in social media, are political figures, or people like that, who are literally dealing with death threats. You know what I'm saying? Look at a guy like Ben Shapiro, it's literally dealing with death threats. People that
Yeah.
are out there and they're saying things that are, but they're just trying to say truth. They're trying to say
Right.
things that they feel are very, very true and honest to themselves. And you know how much that even sometimes the people that you're defending and the things that you stand for, your values, are ripping you down nonstop, trying to put you down, telling you you're not Jewish enough, or are you this, or you're that, you're that. It's very, very hard to go on when you think you're fighting a good fight and people are mamish putting you down nonstop, nonstop, and thinking like, oh wow, you know what happened to that guy? It's like, you know what he's going through, you know what he has to live through, you know how much he has to go through. I get on boss, I get it from black people, I get it from Jewish people, whether they're from or not from. I even get people from who are uh white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? I get death threats also. So
Oh my
it's
God.
not one of it's one of those things where people don't understand how much you have to go through the more and more that you put yourself out there, that more and more people are, and you're just trying to help. You're making
Yeah.
a platform. You yourself are doing something that you're trying to help people, right? So, do you ever feel like um, you all also get from within, maybe even from within the community, people that are saying, "Oh, this is garbage." It's what are you wasting your time for? Do you also get that as well?
It's funny. A lot of people, before they listen to any podcasts or anything I do, it usually comes with like, I don't know, is this different? Is this kosher? What are you doing? And
Right.
I'm like, just listen, just listen to one
Just listen.
episode. And
Right.
then when they listen, they're like, oh, okay. But like a
Right.
lot of times, a lot of hate just comes from lack of knowledge. Like it's
Lack
just
of
people,
knowledge.
yeah, they just don't know. They're not trying to be malicious. I think people by nature are good, and I have this argument with a lot of people a lot of times. Like especially people in business, they see the worst sides of people, and I'm
Right.
always like, people are good. People are good. They just are. Sometimes they're selfish, sometimes they're misguided, sometimes they don't know, and they're
Right.
not like evil. There are evil people out there, but I think most people are not. And it's
Right.
funny you say this. This Rabbi Eitan Feiner, who's my Rav of the White Shul. He was on the first episode
Ah,
of Meaningful People. He's a legend.
love him.
He's gone
Love
through
him.
so much in
Love
his
him.
life, and I just spoke to him today. He was I there's he might have the biggest heart in Klal Yisrael. Like I've
Wow.
seen it from a personal level and just from everything. He does whatever he can to help people. And there was like a year or two ago a big commotion about like the whole Heksher and the 5 towns, and he literally was doing whatever he can to help everyone. And
Wow.
and just people didn't understand the situation. He's like, I do everything and anything to help anyone. I never ask of anything. I'm just trying to help. And unfortunately, there's a few dumb people out there being like, I don't know, he's a and I told him this, and I maybe this is going to be my ticket into Olam Haba. It's not that he didn't know this, but hopefully I like maybe brought out this point. I told him, I said, I'm like, listen, Moshe Rabbeinu, the leader of Klal Yisrael, someone who Hashem was going to destroy all of the Jewish people after they served the Avodah Zarah, after they served an idol, and
Mm-hmm.
Moshe said, Hashem, if you're going to destroy them, you have to destroy me.
You
And
have to
Hashem
me.
wanted to just take Moshe and continue and say, oh, we're going to make a new Jewish nation through you. He said, I'm with them through thick and thin, no matter what. Those same people that Moshe put his life on the line and gave up everything for them, those same people kept on complaining to Moshe, you took us out of Mitzrayim, which they were being tortured in. And they
Right.
complained, they complained, they complained. And
Right.
to me, that gives me the most chizuk. Like one of,
Right.
no, not one of, the greatest leader of the Jewish people ever had to go through so much garbage with so many people. And he kept on
Right.
saying, I don't care. I'm doing the right thing. And I know I'm doing the right thing. And it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
And like, that same level, I think all of us should tap into that ability that Moshe Rabbeinu had of saying, I'm doing the right thing. Haters are always going to hate. It's fine.
Right.
Haters are
Right.
always going to hate.
Right.
So let me just do my thing and Hashem will help.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Amazing you said that. Because not only does that happen on a bigger scale and coming from the outside, sometimes those things like you mentioned before they happen from within, and even the person's internal battles that he has to fight within himself. So just to go back to this a little bit, because I want to talk to you a little deeper about the fertility issue and dealing with that and going
Sure.
through that. Baruch Hashem, I've never had to deal with it. I have dealt with sending a lot of prayers to Hashem, saying, Hashem, please, can you slow this down a little bit? You know what I mean? My bank account. Anyway, so I, but it's those are my feelers. Each person has his own challenge, right? Kanai Baruch Hashem, I'm happy for every single thing Hashem gives me, but I couldn't imagine being on the other end of that of 5 years and not knowing and all the things that you would have to go through in order to fight through. So what kept you through that? Like me, I'm a davener, right? I'll spend my if I'm in a I'll stop everything. I'll spend the whole day in tefillah. I literally will. I'll throw everything out and go. Like that's. I just for me, I understand. I think that it's a Yiddish thing anyway. But I'm just saying that's my thing. Like, is there any one thing that you had to hold on to be able to pull you through those 5 years?
Sure. So it's like, obviously my wife gets very uncomfortable whenever I talk about any of this. So I'll talk
Okay.
about it from a little afar. But
Okay.
I think obviously davening is always helpful for sure. But
Hmm.
for me personally, like those 5 years, they were like beautiful. There's always like worry
Hmm.
and like who knows what's gonna be. But like I got to really get to know my wife. My wife really got to know me.
Right.
Like
That's
we're like,
awesome.
in retrospect, like, everything's a blessing and it's always a little easier to see it at the end. And,
Hmm.
thank
Right.
God we're able to say that like we're at the end and we have a little, cutie monster, and not a monster in a bad way. You're like running around, like
Positive.
even right before this, he's like running and like ripping everything down. And like, I look back and be like, you know what? Like my wife and I really had an amazing time getting to know each other. And I think for me personally, it's like, you know, I think it's relationships that really help me out. Obviously, relationship me and Hashem, but like there's also the relationship, me and my wife, and also like me and my friends, me and my rabbeim. Like I really don't know how people navigate life without a mentor, without a leader, without a
Right.
rabbi. And I go after, if I could make anyone my Rebbe, like I go after them. Have Reb Noach
Right.
Victor, Rabbi Sorley Burstein, Reb Mati Newberger, Rav Eitan Feiner, Reb Shmuley Wiener, Rabbi Center. Literally, that's like one Rav Gav. That's like 1% of my Rabbeim. I have so many, and I spoke to them all the time, and not just about hardships, just about like other things, navigation, life, just like trying to.
Right.
They really helped me focus on like what I should do, what we should be doing, and yeah, I think that's a good lesson for anyone in life. Like there's people out there that everyone, like there's what to learn from everyone, that's for sure.
Right.
But people who really care about you and want what's best for you, like go to those people. Like there's enough haters out there. Go to the people who love you and support you and want to
Right.
help you. Like it's the only way to exist. I don't know how people exist otherwise. And
It's
and there's
amazing.
there's always people out there. You could find them. You could find them.
Everybody needs a Rebbe. A
Yeah.
Rebbitzin.
Yes.
So here's my
Yes.
last question, last but not least, just because I could
Sure.
take your time, all night long, but I don't want to
I
do that
I
to
could
you.
Google for 10 hours. This is very enjoyable.
So my last question is something that you and I discussed even before we started recording, and even now I want to just get to it. Is authenticity. Authenticity is so um, important right now, especially in a time where I've always said that I've seen that a lot of young kids, and this is maybe somewhat of a hot topic that I need to have a conversation about or speak about more later on, have a gravitation to secular music because they feel like the person's being real. And they want to hear the deepest, realest pain because they have that real pain. Or people, get into inspirational speakers and start to, like most of the things that people get into, they're finding that there's a certain authenticity coming from it and they're drawn after it, right? Where sometimes we lack in the film world. Just be straight up about it. I
Sure.
was
Sure.
somewhere recently. One of the most powerful things that I heard recently was there was a Rebbitzin at one of the places I was staying. I went to go do a Shabbaton. I was speaking somewhere and in Chicago recently. But it was a very, very powerful thing she said to me. She asked me, "Do you know Rabbi Yoni Fisher?" I said, "Yeah, of course. I know Rabbi Fisher. I'm big on Rabbi Fisher. Um, Shout out to Fishers, by the way." But she said, he's absolutely amazing. He's my new Rebbe. I'm like, what was so powerful about Rabbi Fisher that, like, he has beautiful shiurim online, but I think she tuned into one of his shiurim in Mesilat Yesharim that he gives in the Path of the Just. And she said that he said over there that I take therapy. You don't think I get therapy? And she was like, it was just so polarizing for her because it was like somebody's being real. Somebody's being real. Somebody's not, sweeping things under the rug like we
Right.
don't have things. Everybody, and we don't understand how important it is for people to know that we all got stuff. And we need to be real about these things. We don't gotta wear a t-shirt and be happy about it. but once a person starts speaking, why so many people spend time, I start asking. It's so crazy over the last few years. I've been asking so many people, how'd you learn that? How'd you learn that? And you know how many people told me YouTube? I go to YouTube. YouTube. I go to YouTube. Or whatever the
The
case
best
is.
Rebbe, YouTube.
It's the best Rebbe, right? Right? Behind Google. Anyway, so and all the same cover. But I, but
Right,
he's,
right.
but to
The
hear
same
that somebody
yeshiva.
says something, to hear that somebody's so being so real and so authentic with themselves, it can be life changing, game changing. So my question is, what do you have to say for young up and coming podcasters and different things on that? Just even on the subject of authenticity, what would you give over to other people who want to go in the same direction as yourself?
Sure. So it's funny you mentioned this. On the first episode of Inspiration for the Nation, I had Rabbi Daniel Kalish,
Mm,
and he is king of being authentic. He literally said on it, he's like, when I get a letter and it says Mr. Daniel Kalish, he's like, I wish it didn't bother me, but it bothers me. He's like, I'm Rabbi Daniel Kalish. And
hmm.
like to hear him
Right,
say that, I'm like, come on, like who cares? And he's like, no, but like this is something that bothers me. It shouldn't. I want to be
right,
above it, but like I'd be lying to myself if I didn't say it bothered me. And I think this
right,
idea, like he said this, he's like the younger generation is calling out, they're saying like we are craving authenticity. The older generation of just like, whether they went through, their parents went through the Holocaust or not, like you got to just do everything in life because you got to just do it. Right now, this younger generation, all of us going on YouTube and Spotify and podcasts, like we're craving that real authentic feeling. So
hmm,
yeah, if you're trying to start a podcast or you're trying to get into music or whatever it is, like just be yourself. You don't like there's a path in life for you and you got to just find it. And when you do, it's the best thing ever. And you don't need to fake it till you make it in that way. Like just be yourself. And it takes some time. Like, I know myself, I'm impatient. Like we want to get
right,
there. We want to figure things out. It just takes some time and just like try to talk to yourself and like what really makes me happy, what really makes me tick. And
right.
I see that. I think you yourself are so authentic, and I've been a
Thank you.
guest on a few podcasts, and
Hmm.
I love this conversation because you are being yourself, and I know I
Hmm.
could be myself. I know
Right,
whenever I interview someone, I tell them anything you don't want to talk about, we don't need to talk about. Like, I'm not like, I'm here to make you feel comfortable. And I think that makes a great interview because when we're comfortable, we share the most. And you got to do that
right,
with yourself. When you're comfortable with yourself, you share the most out of yourself, the most potential with the world.
right. Amazing. Listen, Yaakov, it was amazing having you on. Amazing to speak to you. Now I got you back for getting me. Now I got you back.
Nice. Nice.
Tag your
Thank you.
it. Tag your
Yeah.
it. So listen, I wish you success and living l'chaim and inspiration for the nation and everything else that should come to follow. You should only have more bracha upon more bracha, Bezat Hashem, and more children running around.
Amen.
Listen, because I'm
Amen.
seeing right now, if you're at home, it's looking just a little bit too neat right now. So
I'm by I'm no, it's still like a little after Passover. So I'm by
uh,
my parents. So this is
okay,
my mother's doing. My mother's very neat.
okay,
She's watching my baby now. But yeah,
okay,
yeah. No,
okay.
I'm made to messier homes with more
Right,
babies.
amen. Okay, I
I'm
wish you
made.
messier home for all the right reasons, Bezat Hashem, and
Amen.
all the
Amen.
panasa to have as many cleaners as you need to clean up after them, Bezat Hashem.
Amen.
Thank you so much for coming on. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
This is a real joy. Thank you.